The Bible's filled with accounts of so many people who had tremendous potential but crashed and burned in the spiritual race. Take King Saul, for example, the namesake of Saul of Tarsus, later to be known as the Apostle Paul. King Saul is this handsome, tall, courageous, warrior-type individual that God had anointed as king of Israel. Saul had enormous potential, but he repeatedly and systematically just did his own thing, disregarding what God had said. And Saul gave way to pride. He became extremely paranoid and jealous of everything. What happened is it just ate his heart out. And if you read the text, you find that Saul meets a very tragic end on the battlefield. What a waste. What a waste of a life. Then there's Samson. Talk about power. Here's a fellow that had the incredible ability to vanquish his enemies. He'd mow people down left and right on the battlefield. On one occasion, Scripture records that Samson killed 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey. But because Samson played around with sin, it ultimately consumed him and culminated in his death. Then there's Gideon, another example, who had such humble beginnings. He was the smallest person from the smallest tribe, from the poorest family, and all this stuff. That's Gideon. But he was mightily used by God to defeat Israel's enemies. But as Gideon's life comes to an end, you'll find that he lowered his standards and fell into immorality and pride as well. The Apostle Paul, however, wanted to be in the company of those who finished the race, joined in the ranks of those who did so in God's winner's circle. Men like Caleb and Joshua who finished well. Paul said it in 2 Timothy 4. He says, I have finished the race. I have remained faithful. I've kept the faith. And that can be you too.